Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys how to take something from Illustrator, put it onto Photoshop, and put some texture on it. I like the colors here, so I'm going to use this one. First off, make sure there's an artboard around it. Hopefully the artboard is 12.75 by 12.75, or whatever it says on the board, 12.375. Once you have your artboard around it, delete any other artboards that might be there. So for example, if I have one here too, I'd want to select it and delete it. Then I'm going to do a file, export as, and I'm going to choose a Photoshop file, which is a PSD. And there it is. And I want to check use artboard, so it only selects this part. I'm going to put it in my documents, and I'm going to call it album cover Gianelli. And you want to make sure you choose right layers and change the resolution to high.
Why are your hands so cold? Shut up.
And then that'll export. I'm going to now open it up in Photoshop. File open. It's in my documents. It's a PSD file, and it's called album cover Gianelli. So there it is. Now that it's in Photoshop, we can, it's nice to start in Illustrator, get everything where you want it to go, and now I'm going to put some texture on it. So using the magic wand, I would select maybe one of these squares, or I'll select the outline. Make sure you use the magic wand and not the quick selection tool. It should be a little easier. It may have also broken things down into layers, which is nice, because then you can select them that way as well. But once I have this selected, instead of a single color, I want to make this a little bit more grainy. So I'm going to get a paintbrush out, and I'm going to give it a little bit of texture. So I'm probably going to maybe choose a brush under the dry media brushes. And I like this pastel, I like the charcoal. Let's go with the pastel. If I were to just draw with it, you can see this is what it looks like. But I want to give it a little bit of more texture. So I'm going to turn scattering on. And I'm going to bring up the scatter amount a bit. And now if I make it bigger, see what happens. So that's not bad. Let me turn the flow down to a very low number. So it'll just kind of build up slowly, and I'm going to bring the size of this brush to something much bigger. Now that I've done that, I'm going to pick a color with the color picker using Alt, and I'm just going to go a little bit darker here. And now I'm going to just kind of go through and add a little bit of that darkness to this. Then it's going to take a minute to process because it's a really high-res file. Then I'm going to take some lighter colors and just go back and kind of do the same thing. Now, I'm doing this very quickly and probably with too small of a brush, so you could be a little bit more careful than I am, but basically I just want to add a little bit of granularity to this. There are other ways to do it with the filter, but to me I find that this is a little bit easier because you have a little bit more control over it. And what I'm seeing now is a little bit of that grain. Let me just do... I don't want it to all be horizontal, so make sure you make some vertical stripes as well. And now I'm just going to do one of these cubes. So using the magic wand, I'll select this orange cube. Should be easier because it's smaller. And then I will use the color picker on a paintbrush to, let's get one a little bit more in that range. And I got that low flow on there. And then maybe one a little bit lighter as well. So just, there it is. And if you feel like it's too much, you can come back in with like a mixer brush. Particularly if you go into wet media, there's some nice wet blenders, and with a little bit of scattering on that as well, you can just kind of soften it up a little bit. It's again going very slow because the resolution is so high. But and I accidentally pulled from some of the black, but you can turn that off if you just stay inside. So anyway, there it is. Hopefully that helps. And if you decided you wanted to use a filter instead, you could go to filter noise, add noise, and just make sure you keep it at monochromatic. Otherwise you'll get kind of a rainbowy effect. And then you can change how much noise you want it to have. The problem with this is you can't really adjust the scale of that noise, so it ends up looking like that. But you could also go into filter, filter gallery, and you could add some that way. If you can't see your filter gallery, just change your image mode to RGB. Add your filter in the filter gallery, and then you can go back to CMYK afterwards if you decided. So there's some texture, some grain, and you do have a little bit more control over it in this case. And you can change, you know, different types of grain that way. All right, that's it.